Good afternoon, one and all. ICARATARI Zone 7 welcomes you all for the SAMUHIK CHARCHA program on prevention of sexual harassment of women at workplace, which is a part of I Got Kamayogi program that is being taking place from 2nd of April to 8th of April, which is being extended until 10th of April. So we'll be discussing about prevention of sexual harassment of women at workplace.
Next.
So in this Charcha, we'll be talking about the background of the topic, the basic guidelines, the key definitions of aggrieved women, what is workplace, what is sexual harassment, what is the mode of complaint mechanism, and what about false or malicious complaints. These are the topics which we are going to discuss in brief. So in rural areas, 25% of the women are participating as workforce, and in urban areas, 15% approx are participating as workforce. So when coming to aggrieved women, so these are the women who are working or visiting any workplace, including regular, temporary, ad hoc, daily wage labor, or direct or indirect contractors, paid, voluntary, and other services, co-workers, contract workers, probationers, trainees, apprentices or visitors, and also women working in a house or a dwelling place. So workplace also includes employer-provided transport, organized and unorganized sectors, government and private organizations, hospitals, nursing homes, sports institutes, facilities, and houses. Office parties, offsites, outbound training, client meetings, training sessions, travel for office purpose, and any other places visited due to employment is also considered as a workplace. So moving on to sexual harassment, any unwelcome act or behavior which is sexual in nature, and also it is subjective experience, and impact is the thing which matters, not the intent that matters. So, bullying of a sexual nature, unwelcome or inappropriate promise of rewards for sexual favors, gross violation of women's right to equality and dignity is called sexual harassment. So, when linked to sexual harassment, the following also are counted as sexual harassment, which is implied or explicit promise of preferential treatment, threat of detrimental treatment, threat about the present or future employment status, interference with work or creating hostile work environment, humiliating treatment which affects the health and safety of the women employee. So again, implied or explicit promise of preferential treatment in her employment, and threatening treatment and threat about the employment, hostile working environment, and humiliating is sexual harassment. So sexual harassment also include acts like physical contact, demand or request for sexual favors, sexually colored remarks, showing pornography, and offensive derogatory pictures or cartoons, and any unwelcomed physical, verbal, non-verbal contact of sexual nature. So 52% of the women experience sexual harassment at their workplaces. 25% touched without invitation, and 20% are experiencing sexual advances. So 1 out of 5 women do report it, and 80% think its outcome is poor, and 16% thinks that the situation will be worsened after they report it. So this is the reason women don't report the act of sexual harassment. And the reasonable apprehensions of the victim are humiliating, unsafe, unhealthy, discriminatory, career limiting, causing adverse circumstances. So these are some of the examples like physical touch, creating hurdles in the work environment, and any unwelcomed act like touching and uninvited acts come into physical sexual harassment. So making sexual advances or demanding sexual favors cracking jokes which cause awkwardness or embarrassment to the employee, and also passing on statements like, "You're just a woman, we need a man for this assignment," "making babies is all you women are good for," making obscene gestures or using indecent languages are some of the examples which can be coined as sexual harassment. So when sexual harassment happens at workplace, the brand value of the organization or negative publicity is the outcome, decreased morale and decreased efficiency of the employees, and loss of money for non-compliance of provisions of law. For example, Madras High Court awarded 1.68 crore in damage of an employee for non-constitution of ICC. So, in order to avoid sexual harassment or prevent such acts, one should be professional all the time, should set a positive example, and think before making any personal comments, be supportive of people who wish to talk about being sexually harassed, and direct them to appropriate persons or authorities, and hold the harasser accountable for his actions, and don't make excuses for him. Demand that the harassment should be stopped and report the harassment to responsible person or organization. So no women employee shall be subjected to sexual harassment at workplace as per the Section 3, subsection 1 of the Act. And it is women's right to say no to sexual harassment, and let's make this earth a safe and healthy workplace. So complaint mechanism, any aggrieved women may make a written complaint to the committee, and within 3 months from the date of incident, the women who is subjected to sexual harassment can raise a complaint, and the committee may extend this to another 3 months for valid reasons. And if a woman cannot write, the committee shall provide assistance. So if internal committee concludes allegation is malicious or complaint was knowingly false or forged documents were used, the committee may recommend employer to take action against the complainant. Action only for inquiry proves malicious intent, and false or wrong statement by witness, its action against the witnesses also will be taken up. The Indian Penal Code, as per the Section 509, says that words, gestures, or acts intended to insult the modesty of a woman, like utterance of any word, making sounds, gestures, and exhibiting any object with an intention to intrude upon the privacy of such women, leads to punishment for up to 3 years, and in some cases, it may lead to fines, etc. So Section 354A also states that sexual harassment and punishment for sexual harassment offences like physical contact and advances involving unwelcome and explicit sexual overtures, or a demand or request for sexual favors, showing pornography, and making remarks will be considered as Section 354A, subsection 1, 2, and 3, and under subsection 4, the sexual harassment, the member will be punished with imprisonment for up to a term of 1 year and or fine. And there are also limitations when we speak about this sexual harassment, like there is no protection for male employees, and there is no preference to protection from victimization. Sometimes male employees are also victims under false allegations. Constitution of ICC for different officers and external representation within the ICC should be carried out, and timeliness may be unrealistic, and deterrence due to employer action for false or malicious complaints, ability to deduct from harasser's salary, and absence of monetary liability on the part of the employer, and there is also no protection from other forms of harassment. So the summary and key takeaways from this discussion will be: every woman has a right to a safe workplace, and also know your definitions like what is aggrieved women, what is workplace, what is termed as sexual harassment, and what are the timelines to report such incidents, and how to make complaints, and how to raise the complaints, and how to look into the malicious complaints or false complaints, and also it should be taken care to think of the victim, And also the impact matters more than the intent, as we said in the start of the discussion. So thank you all for taking part in this discussion.